I have taken a lot of writing arts courses here at Rowan, but none of them compare to writing, research, and technology. This course really made me step outside of my comfort zone and explore the technology in a way that I would have never thought possible. I have had a lot of breakdowns in the course, but also an equal amount of aha moments. This course made me focus in on what kind of writer I am, my strengths and weaknesses, and helped me realize that not everything has to be perfect. As long as I try and do my best, that's the most important thing. Who I am as a writer. My journey as a writer has changed dramatically from the first time I started writing until now. One of my most challenging aspects as a writer when I was younger was overcoming my fear of cursive. If only life was that easy now. For me, the idea of writing today is so much more than pencil or pen on a piece of paper, keeping a private journal, or proving to your third grade teacher that you can in fact write legibly in cursive. Writing is about producing something of your own to share with the world. It is about taking different elements such as research and the use of technology along with your own ideas and producing something great. This course has taught me this idea of writing. I have stepped outside my comfort zone, explored new technologies such as the Prezi, and have produced the unthinkable, all because of this class. I tried new things when it came to writing, and it broadened my horizons on my understandings of how writing, research, and technology are connected. I learned that writing isn't perfect, and that's okay. Instead, writing is a process all about creating and displaying something that really makes people think and want to further investigate your ideas. The idea of the digital native or immigrant was a big one in our class and is what our first project stemmed off of. In the first few weeks of class, we were presented with the question, are you a digital native or immigrant? A digital native, according to Mark Prensky, is someone from my generation who has grown up with technology such as computers, video games, and the internet. A digital immigrant is someone who was not born into the digital world, but have, at some later point in their lives, become fascinated by and adopted many or most aspects of the new technology. This was our very first assignment, the digital oral history presentation. This assignment was just a way for us to get our feet wet for what was to come for the duration of the semester. We were instructed to conduct interviews of people of various ages and get their take on what role technology played for them in their lives. The idea of reading David Prensky's article and being able to apply it to my own work is where writing arts core value number 2, writing arts students will understand theories of writing and reading and be able to apply them to their own writing is being accomplished. We read an article by Prensky describing what a digital native and immigrant is, which is what the assignment was based off of. Normally, for an assignment like this, I would just interview the people, then type up the interview. But this assignment forced me to step outside the box and do something new. I used Prezi for the very first time, and my frustration level was at an all-time high. I used my iPhone to record the following interviews. This is my mother, my first digital immigrant who is 54 years old. This is Penny Kemp, who is 40 years old and my second digital immigrant. This is my roommate, Allison Thompson, who I interviewed. She is 21 years old and my first interview for a digital native. This is Michael Mulvihill, who is a 6th grader and 12 years old. I babysit him, and he is the last digital native that I interviewed. The last interview that I conducted was myself, reflecting on the 4 interviews and then giving my perspective of what technology meant to me. Now it was time to transfer the videos onto Prezi, which was anything but easy. Once I figured out how Prezi worked and downloaded the videos, that was enough excitement for me. I left the presentation as it was and was afraid to take any risks because I didn't want to ruin what I had worked so hard to put together, which wasn't anything special. When I look back now and realize what I am capable of doing, I wish I would have added more detail to my Prezi, such as color, different turns and twists, and maybe have better quality of my videos. One breakdown that I ran into was when I presented my Prezi to the class. I was proud of what I put together and wanted to share my breakthrough with the class. When I went to present, 2 of the videos would not play for me. Of course, this would happen to me. Once class was over, I tried to figure out the problem with my YouTube videos. I learned that 2 of my videos were private and that they had to be made public to be viewed on Prezi. Not only did I learn a lot about Prezi, but I also became familiar with YouTube as well. Once I got the hang of Prezi and YouTube, my presentation felt more along the lines of a PowerPoint than actual writing because there were no words. I'd used a lot of technology, but again, there were just no words. This moment right here is when I realized that I was completing Writing Arts Core Value number 4. Writing Arts students will be able to investigate, discover, and evaluate and incorporate material into the creation of text. I was investigating how to use Prezi and YouTube and discovering and or evaluating how my interviews were creating a type of text, but not a text that I was used to. It was all starting to come together. As I continued on with my digital oral history presentation, I was realizing why I was a digital native and how being that way was helping me become a digital writer, although no writing was involved. The next project was the Twitteriv. The Twitteriv was the most difficult assignment for me this entire semester. In the beginning, I wasn't able to comprehend what the point of this project was or what was being asked of me. I couldn't wrap my head around the idea of the Twitteriv. I understood the concept of being in an unfamiliar and new place and tweeting about it. In fact, I do that all the time. I'm a great people watcher. The task was to tweet about our experiences and our surroundings, such as what were other people doing, what caught our eye, and did anything out of the ordinary happen. Tweeting wouldn't be a difficult task since I have an iPhone and am addicted to Twitter. The breakdown that I ran into was when I was trying to tweet, I wasn't getting any service, so I had to save all my tweets to my drafts and then had to retweet all of them the following day. Now these are the tweets that were supposed to lead me in the right direction to get me thinking of what I wanted my Twitteriv to be focused on. As you can see, the tweets that got me thinking dealt with Irish weekend, being at the bar, listening to Irish bands, and seeing my family all weekend. I noticed that these specific tweets were focused on the idea of being Irish and my family, which made sense considering I was in North Wildwood, New Jersey for Irish Day weekend. This is when I realized I understood and was accomplishing Writing Arts Core Value number 6. Writing Arts students will understand the impact evolving technologies have on the creation of written texts. I was creating ideas to write about and to display them on my Weebly using Twitter. Twitter is what got this entire project going, and because of this technology, I was able to put my Twitteriv together. The project is based off of technology, and I have found different ways to display written text. Once I realized that my tweets were focused around an Irish topic, I thought I knew what I was doing, but I came to learn, as you can see from my first draft, that I was completely lost. I added things to the Twitteriv to make it look Irish, but the only elements I had was a Facebook fan page for Irish Weekend and some pictures. It was a huge mess. That definitely wasn't going to cut it. I began to think of different technologies that I could include to help get my point across of what it meant to be Irish. Now I was beginning to head in some type of direction. I added a Wordle, a Prezi, and a link that brings you to a website to see just how Irish you really are. Then I began to get frustrated because I didn't know where else to go. I just started to add tweets that might bring in some inspiration or bring me into another direction. These are the tweets that I added just to throw something in to see if I could pull something else out of this Twitteriv. My repetitive picture that I incorporated was the words, "I don't know," because at that point I didn't know what to do. It was a disaster. After taking a couple days away from the Twitteriv to clear my head, I came up with the idea to stick with the Irish theme and to take a closer look into what it means to be Irish and to incorporate my own views and ideas. This idea explains why my reoccurring picture is a magnifying glass with 4-leaf clovers under it. The music was a huge part of Irish Weekend, and I had a couple tweets about that, so I began thinking what Irish music meant to me. My dad was a huge fan of U2, which is an Irish band, and I looked into some of their music and videos. I began to realize why my dad liked them so much, and why I've continued to follow U2's music even after my dad had passed away. Another part of the Twitteriv was the idea of religion in the Irish heritage. It is an extremely important aspect of their everyday lives, and I wanted to analyze it. There is a YouTube video describing the Irish heritage and a famous Irish prayer, along with a picture of St. Patrick. Along with the problem of actually coming up with a theme for my Twitter, the only other problems I ran into were formatting the page because I was still getting used to Weebly and its limitations and how things worked on the specific website. After all of this, the Twitteriv finally had a purpose and was going in the right direction. Because of all the technology such as YouTube, Prezi, Wordle, and Google, I was able to tell a story in my Twitteriv. These are just some aspects of my Twitteriv. The rest can be found on my actual Weebly site. The next project that we had to complete was the collaborative research project. The first thing that I want to discuss is why my group picked WordPress over Weebly for the format of constructing the research project. We had been working with Weebly all semester and were extremely used to it, which is why one would think that we would use Weebly, but we decided on a different route. We wanted to step outside our comfort zones once again and try a new form of technology. We wanted to explore WordPress and see what it had to offer. It was much different than Weebly, and the formatting was quite confusing at first, but we stuck with it and ended up being quite successful with the website. As we were learning how to use WordPress, we wished we would have went to Weebly, but the end product was all worth the frustration. We first started with a YouTube video that had to do with the e-cigarette. The video had to contain some type of technology. We had to find a video that didn't have a bunch of comments, but not one that didn't have any at all either. Then we were to start a conversation within the video, playing different roles such as the protagonist, antagonist, and the devil's advocate. We started a conversation between ourselves and was lucky enough to get some outside responses as well. My username is Dana Myers as you look through the comments. The purpose of this YouTube assignment was to learn how to get a conversation going and to keep it going, to bring in insightful views that would force people to comment either agreeing or disagreeing. This in turn would help us when it came time for the actual collaborative research project, because we would have to formulate a conversation with each other, bringing in different viewpoints of the certain sources. The next step was to pick an actual topic for the research, and my group came up with the idea of internet fraud. We were to add something to Wikipedia that dealt with internet fraud and see if it would be removed or was kept. This is what I added, and it hasn't been removed. I've added the underlined yellow parts are what I've added to the Wikipedia site. I added a part to the online auction and retail schemes that says, according to data from law enforcement and consumer protection organizations, fraudulent schemes appearing online on auction websites are among the most frequently reported form of mass marketing fraud. Another part that I added to the Wikipedia that hasn't been removed is one to the references. It's Mass Marketing Fraud, the U.S. Department of Justice. This is a website that gives more insight on why fraud is happening, how it is happening, what happens to the people who are caught, and how you can stay away from fraud. The purpose of the Wikipedia assignment was to help us with our annotated bibliography and to get us ready for the idea of rejection within our own group and what we would add that maybe our group members wouldn't like or misunderstand, and we would have to be ready to defend why our research mattered and needed to be kept for the project. Now came the time for the research on internet fraud and to do the annotated bibliography. Within the annotated bibliography came breakdowns. First, we were in the middle of a hurricane, so most of the work for the annotated bib was rushed. If I had time to go back, I would do better research for my annotated bib with better articles and books. This is where I now realize that I was encountering writing arts core value number 3. Writing arts students will demonstrate the ability to critically read complex and sophisticated texts in a variety of subjects. I had to do a lot of reading and analyzing for my sources for the annotated bid. I learned a lot more than I ever dreamed about internet fraud. This core value also can be linked to reading the article that David Prensky wrote about digital natives and immigrants, and other articles that we have critically read from Dropbox. Although the research that I found, along with my group members, led us in a direction we weren't expecting, we came across the idea of identity fraud and the idea of identity on social networks and how it is subjected to change. We were able to pull this topic out from researching another topic. My subtopic within the larger one was one's identity on Twitter. While doing research on identity fraud, I came in contact with a lot of scholarly journals, YouTube videos, and newspaper articles that made me realize I was again accomplishing writing art's core value number 3. What got me thinking about identity is the following video entitled Identity 2.0. This gave me different ideas to analyze when it came to identity and what to think about when conducting my research. The video gives a great overview of what identity on social network is like. The following is my comments on the video and how the video helped extend my research. In here, I talk about how this video has helped me further my research on identity on Twitter, what identity means, and how identity can be altered. The next slide is my comments on an excellent article that I found entitled I Tweet Honestly, I Tweet Passionately, Twitter Users, Content Collapse, and the Imagined Audience. What really drew me to this article was the idea of the imagined audience and how that changes a person on a social network. For example, Twitter. People tweet what they do because of their audience, or better known as their followers, which in the end means that people are faking their identity. They are appealing to their general audience and not being real. Another idea that arose from this article was the idea of authenticity. Authenticity is altered on the internet. People try to be something they are not all the time. How does one know if the person behind the screen of the computer is being authentic? These are all the things I analyzed throughout the collaborative research project. Here's another comment of mine that I want to mention and bring attention to. This is my comment to an article posted by one of my group members, and as you can see, I am totally against the idea that the article presents. The article says that people aren't authentic on the internet because in some ways that helps them to get to know who they truly are. I also analyzed one of our controlling values and how they obviously played a part in our research. The controlling values were definitely a continuing breakdown for me throughout the entire semester. I had such a hard time wrapping my head around what my controlling values are and how people could see them differently. I started to finally get a hang of it when one of my group members explained it better for me, and it started to make more sense when we did ours for our project and related to our research and what we are trying to say. All in all, there weren't many breakdowns for me during this collaborative research project. It was a lot of hard work, research, and tons of blogging and analyzing, but the end product was all worth it. Last but not least, I want to give credit to my blogs throughout the semester. Within our groups, we were to take turns creating a blog for the week, and then other group members had to respond. Most of the time, the blogs were about which assignments we were doing that week, our feelings towards the project, and how we were going to go about tackling the assignment. The very first blog that I wrote was for my own satisfaction. It dealt with my breakdowns of the course and basically my frustration level. The next blog is one of the blogs that I had to create for the group to respond. This blog dealt with Twitter and how Twitter is more than just a social network. It can be a source of writing as well and can contribute to the writing process. I gave my feelings and asked my group members to answer a couple of questions. The last blog that I want to show is a different approach to the blogging method. Instead of creating a blog for the week, my group members decided to each post a link to our WordPress websites since we were doing plenty of blogging on there. The blog was a nice little break from the week's assignments that we were able to communicate with each other on how we were feeling and to gain insight from each other on the giving assignments. Blogging was another forum helping me to become a digital writer along with the previous assignments. I came, I saw, I produced. In conclusion, my Weebly and everything within it has changed me as a writer. As you can see from my first Prezi presentation to my cover memo, I have changed drastically. I went from not knowing a damn thing about Prezi, Weebly, and the purpose of the Twitteriv to being able to help my classmates insert links on their Weebly or showing them how the blogs worked on WordPress. I've evolved so much as a person and a writer. This class not only taught me that writing takes form in so many ways other than paper and pencil, but that everything doesn't have to be perfect, and writing is never perfect. My entire Weebly is my very own production. I didn't consume any of it. I created it all with the help of others, of course, but that is mine, and I am so proud to say that. This here shows the homepage to my Weeblies. The tabs above entitled Blog, Blog, Blogging Away, and Assignments are all things I never would have thought I could have created. I have had a lot of breakdowns, but I got through them, and it was all worth it because I survived to this point and am able to share with you what I worked so hard on all semester.